Good morning and happy Thursday and welcome back to Teacher Talk. My name is Lisa Bayless. I'm a school teacher, counselor, and author of the book Self-Compassion for Educators, and I'm so excited today we're talking with Rafi. But before he gets in here, I wanted to remind you that we are going to start our Yes-Vember challenge. So this is an opportunity for us all to really say yes to what's important to us and what do we need to say no to as we head into December. So links in my bio, join that, and we're going to get Rafi in here. I just see him coming in. We're going to invite him in and he's going to spend the next little bit chatting with us. Let's see if we can get that invitation working. I am so excited to have this chance to chat with him. And there he is. Good morning, my friend.
Morning, Lisa.
And happy Thanksgiving to all of our American friends on this Thursday morning.
Indeed. Many blessings, much to be grateful for.
Oh, well, thank you for spending a little bit of time with me. I'm so grateful to have you join in on this call to celebrate your work and to reconnect to education and how your work aligns so well with it. So can you get us started with that? Can you tell us a little bit about how your role, I mean, many people know you. I know that I was raised on your music. I raised my babies on your music, and it's touched not only our little ones, but most of the educators we work with. Can you talk about your connection and your role in all the things you do to education?
Ooh, big question.
Yeah.
This is indeed a pleasure because educators, I have such a soft spot in my heart for teachers. When I was in high school, I actually had thoughts of being a high school history teacher. And it was interesting. The feeling then was to give students a break. I mean, from teachers who felt tyrannical, who felt they had a God-given right to rule. I wanted to let the students know that I was on their side. So I had that compassion for the learner needing support. And here I am, decades later,
2 years,
having a role in the learning experiences of the very young, and hopefully on up. From the very first album that I recorded in 1976, an album called Singable Songs for the Very Young, educators, especially early childhood educators, embraced my music. They kept telling me how much the children loved it in either in nursery schools or in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. And so teachers and I have sort of walked the path together in a way through these many decades. And now all the advocacy that throughout my career that I've done on behalf of children, how do we give our best to kids? All of that in a way has evolved into this philosophy that I call child honoring. And it's one that woke me up from a sound sleep in 1997.
Well, let's go there because this is part of, you and I've had a few conversations about how important this is. We know your music has touched people, and we know your desire to spread joy and love and deep compassion, especially to the children in our world. And it has created this philosophy that you have now called child honoring. And it's, the beautiful covenant that you've created in our world. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're from and what it means to you?
Sure. I mean, when I woke up that Sunday morning, I in a luminous moment, nothing less than a vision came to me and gifted me with a new philosophy, a holistic vision, connecting person, culture, and planet with the child as the universal human at the heart of this vision. And I'm just going to show you this.
Yeah, the 3 circles with
the child at its heart. This is my Child Honoring Foundation brochure. I knew in that moment that all the decades of thinking about, caring about, studying child development, having umpteen conversations about how do we give our best to children, brought forth this vision. And essentially, child honoring has, it emphasizes the primacy of early years in lifelong outcomes of behavior, either positive or negative. Because it's in the early years that we humans feel what it's like to be human.
Mm.
So those early years are formative because
Mhm.
what's forming is nothing less than how it feels to be human.
Mhm.
Feel safe and um, exciting and possibility laden? Does it feel celebratory like this? Does
Mhm.
it feel inviting of our creativity?
Yeah.
Or does it feel anxious and constrained and struggling and not having our needs met? You see, these
Mhm.
are two basic polarities, and it's critically important that the very young receive affirming life experiences, not adverse childhood experiences, the ACEs, that way too many of us grew up with, including myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of that, I'll just say life is, of course, a healing journey. We need to be cognizant of how we began life, what our child rearing, our own child rearing was like. We need to be cognizant of that. Now I'm delving here into the conscious parenting principle of child honor, because we don't want to unwittingly pass on our own struggles that have been unaddressed, perhaps. All of us have a responsibility as adults to do our emotional healing work,
Mm.
so that when we are with the young in our care,
Yeah.
we're not unwittingly passing on our past issues to them, so that we can see them clearly in the present.
Yeah. Can I just pause? Because I just want to hold that, especially for, our early childhood educators who are joining in, who are listening, and the great responsibility that we have as humans, as adults, to, as you said, deeply hold and care these for our littlest ones at such a developmentally and important time, and how important it is that we have done our work, how we have cared for ourselves and gone through that so that we can really be present for those little ones. So thank you for starting that with that. I think that's so important.
And I want you to know, I think you do know, but I'll just remind everyone that the core value throughout my whole 4.5 decades of making for children and families, the core value has been respect.
Mm-hmm.
Respect for the young child as a whole person.
Yeah.
And that value of respect applied, and expressed through my music, has evolved now into this child honoring philosophy, which calls for a culture of respect,
Mm.
a circle of belonging, where, you know, where the differences in the human condition are a plus, they're not a detriment.
Mm-hmm.
We're safe in the knowledge that we are all beating with the same human heart,
Mm.
safe with that knowledge of how interconnected we are. By the way, we see our interconnectedness as a species most vividly in the infant of every culture. It's in those early years. So the infant is the same physiological being worldwide,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of skin color, ethnicity.
Language, culture, totally. I
That's
know.
the same human heart.
Mm.
So with that, feeling safe in that connection, we can be curious about difference. We don't have to fear difference. We don't have to put other people down. We can celebrate the diversity.
Mm. Again, I want to pause and hold that because I can just feel it so deeply in my own heart as we're listening to this. And, in a lot of the work that I do around self-compassion, we use the term common humanity and this connectedness. And, what a beautiful recognition that our babies have this, but even as adults, we can remember. And we often, I believe that we find our common humanity or this connectedness in extremes, in big suffering and in big joy.
Mm.
Sometimes we have to see that we all suffer, we all struggle, and we're all experiencing huge gratitudes, huge love, huge joy. And I think your work, which I love, brings out the joy, brings out the love for so many people.
And as you know, children are embodied joy.
Mm,
They live that joy. They seek it. They're pleasure-seeking individuals.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, happiness is an interesting concept, an idea, but, you know, steeped in our joy on a daily basis, I'd say we'd be doing pretty well if we just, you know, move out of the way
Mm,
those elements in our lives that keep us from feeling our joy.
totally.
I share my joy daily, not only around the house with my dog Luna,
Mm-hmm.
but when I go into town in my exchanges with shopkeepers and so on. And they notice and they play along with me. We
Yeah.
have smiles and laughter as much as possible, you know.
Mm. Yeah, well, and what a gift for our whole world to be able to recognize that and to be able to feel it with you. And I know that, like, I've seen you in many different platforms and I've met you in person. You exude joy, you exude love. Like, this is such an important part of how you show up in the world. And I believe that you're like this course that you have, this child honoring course, has a few different components. Joy is one of them. Joy and love and belonging. Tell us a little bit more about this, because there's 10 modules. It's co-created with an educator, our friend Kristen Weens.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful course set up to really support honoring children for the adults in children's lives. So tell us a little more.
Educator Kristen Weens, who you know very well,
Mm-hmm.
very well. We, you know, she's also an inclusion coach.
Mm-hmm.
Learned a lot from her about that role that she plays. We worked on this course, this online course in child honoring that the Raffi Foundation offers. We worked on it for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And the course has 12 modules, actually. Introduction, and then the covenant for honoring children, and it's 9 principles. That's 11, and then a summary. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the covenant and it's 9 principles. And I
Mm-hmm.
might just mention those principles now. May I?
Yes, please. We'd love to hear them.
Here. Respectful love,
Mm.
diversity, caring community, conscious parenting, emotional intelligence, nonviolence, safe environments, sustainability, and ethical commerce.
Mm.
So there's a breadth of connection here. Because I think what the Course really offers us is a way of connecting the dots between the personal, the cultural, and the planetary domain
Mm-hmm.
that inhabit our lives, that we live in. So if we truly are deeply passionate about giving children our best, it behooves us to make the connections that this online course in child honoring gives registrants.
Mm.
Can I read you a couple of things educators say about the course?
Please. And I just have to say, there's been people joining in here from all over the world, and they're commenting, I'm taking this course right now. I really love it. It's so beautiful. And so we're like live right now, this conversation. Thank you to those of you who are joining us here and telling us that this has been, you know, life-changing for you. You share some of the antidotes that you, or the antidotes, the
Yes,
way that people are finding it. And we're gonna, someone just asked, where can we find the course? I'm gonna post it below so
well,
people have access to it.
I'll tell you right now where you can find it, rafi.org.
RaffiFoundation.org. Yeah.
Got it. So Ocean Nealand, who is a delightful educator at Vancouver Island University, she's the program chair and a professor in early childhood education and care. She said, I love child honoring and its principles, respectful love, diversity, and so on. She named them. These topics are dear to my heart, and I'm motivated to enliven them in my work and personal life. I encourage you to take this online course. It's full of great resources and inspiration for contributing to a healthier and more vibrant world for all.
Mm.
And here's a testimonial from Kristen Perrone, a Massachusetts educator. She says, nothing has a more lasting impact than how we view, parent, love, and educate the young child, of course. And then she goes on to say, as an educator, teacher, mom, and grandmother
Hmm.
that Rafi's online course in child honoring should be part of every parent and educator's repertoire.
Oh, can you? I just want to like dream big. Can we imagine every parent in the world getting this course? What a gift to our society.
And can you imagine if in time this course was mandated for every person who seeks to work professionally with the very young?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine that?
I
Here's
can't.
one more quote from, this is from Bud Hall. He used to be the Dean of Education at University of Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
He was responsible for my first honorary degree at UVic. Here's what he said: a beautifully designed platform. A lot of love and creative talent has gone into this online course in child honoring, a philosophy for the re-enchantment of our world.
Mm. Mm.
So I think it suffices to say that for educators, this would be a deeply moving experience, an inspiring experience. There are experts in many sectors who are quoted, who appear in videos or audio quotes or written quotes. It's resource rich.
Yeah.
Of course, takes about 18 to 20 hours to do. It can be done on a weekend, or you can space it out. It's up to you, type of thing.
And it's self-paced, so people can take it as long or as short. Like they can say, you can go through it in a weekend and really dive into it, or you can take your time and, enjoy how these principles and
And,
these,
yeah,
they.
and when you're done, you print out the certificate of completion and
Mm.
certificate selfie, and you send it to us at rafifoundation.org, along with hopefully a little testimonial, and then we'll put it up.
And Rafi will share it. And I know all those Beluga grads out there want that Rafi to share their picture of the work that they've done. I can guarantee that that's such a.
Can't send the picture via banana.
I've had a few people like saying your music has changed them as they, I don't know if you've been able to see some of the, as we're talking here, some of the comments, but your music has really touched the world, Rafi. And it is, I know you hear this a lot, but just as a mom and as a child who had your music as a part of my world, like it really has changed how we all show up in the world. And what a gift that and what a legacy you are leaving for so many people and so many children.
Thank you so much. I was inspired by the likes of Pete Seeger.
Mm.
Because those who inspire us, they live on.
Yeah.
And they're not supposed to, Martin Luther King Jr. and all his inspiring work, he's not just some statue somewhere in Washington, D.C. He lives in my heart.
Mm.
His call for freedom rings in my heart. And I think all of us can inspire one another. I mean, someone the other day said, what gives you hope? And I looked at her and I said, you. I said, we give each other hope,
Yeah. Someone just wrote Rafi is the Beatles for kids. I just want to own that because
it's a sad song and make it better.
And lots of people asking for you to sing, so I'll leave that one up to you. One of the we can pause on that, but one of the things that I talk a lot about is how do we continue to show up and be well in our world? And we've touched on a few different things, but what would your definition of wellness be in our world? How would you show up and be well in our world?
Well, you want to have good habits, daily habits that keep you healthy, number one. Healthy in mind, though, is another matter. Healthy in your heart. You want a spacious heart. I love that term.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to approach life with curiosity. You want to approach people with your authentic self. So there's the ethical commerce of being human. Show up who you are, We don't have time for anything less than that.
Mm.
We owe each other that authenticity. Wouldn't you want to know that someone you were meeting were exactly who they appear? There's no room for deception or less than giving people our best in this life.
Mm.
But that's one thing. Another thing is we want to be fully awake with our curiosity, fully awake to the challenges in our lives and in our communities and in the world at large, but not overtaken by them. You want to I think, inhabit a middle ground
Yeah.
of being informed but not overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So the things that you care about, that you want to respond to, choose them carefully. Don't choose too many things. But, you know, if you're like me, and if you have a systemic mind, you like connecting the dots, well, that's a different thing, because this course can actually nudge you further into your reasonable need to connect dots. I have a need to connect dots. I mean, I like to go for root causes.
Mm.
That's just me. But if you're like that, you'll get a lot out of this course. And I'll say one more thing. I think at the end of the course, it's fair to say that one who took the course will feel a stirring of being a change maker in the world.
Mm.
Dr. Gabor Mate of Vancouver has taught me much about trauma and illness and healing. And I think he's right when he says we're living in a toxic culture where the, the better angels of being human are not supported.
Mm-hmm.
Economy, by many sectors of our society.
Mm-hmm.
Child honoring comes along and says how we regard and treat the very young is the key
Mm-hmm.
to creating humane and therefore sustainable cultures.
Mm.
Because in meeting the universal and irreducible needs of the young, that's the gift to early childhood,
Mm.
pays with interest throughout a lifetime. What better way of restoring community, restoring ecosystems when you think about it, because it's healthy humans that are going to make healthy ecosystems.
Totally. Totally.
At my foundation, our slogan is respecting earth and child.
Mm.
That's the connection I want all of us to keep in our hearts and minds. We live on Mother Earth, not the environment, Mother Earth. She feeds us. Her diversity sustains us. We
Mm-hmm.
owe it to her and to ourselves in the most rational, reasonable minds to not foul our nest.
Mm.
We
Mm.
owe ourselves as a community of nations around the world to find the ways in which to boldly, rapidly decarbonize our economies. Embrace the green, renewable technologies that we need to massively invest in as we divest from fossil fuels. All this stuff needs to happen quickly.
And you know, I have to say, listening to all this, like, we know it's our children that are going to be the ones that are going to find so much solutions to the things that are struggling in our world. And for us, whether we're an educator, a parent, a caregiver, to be able to hold our children, and I think this is where our work aligns a little bit, we have to also know how to hold ourselves in this, right? And so this invitation to, you know, do this work, take the child honoring course, and as you do it, also learn to love yourself, learn to respect yourself, and deeply practice this work, because if we want to show up for our kids, we also have to show up for ourselves.
That's so beautiful, because you wrote the book on self-compassion. You did. That's in the title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's the foundation for all the work we need to do for our little ones. Is we know a lot of us know in our head that we want to show up for our babies in beautiful ways, and we want to show up for the students that we work with and our kids, but sometimes we don't have the capacity. And so to be able to learn that is to be able to have the capacity to then take a course like yours and to learn all these principles that can help our children. We also need to learn to meet ourselves with such deep inner compassion, because the more inner compassion we have, the more outer compassion we have for the world.
I couldn't agree with you more, Lisa. The love and compassion that we might so easily give to others, we need to give to ourselves. So I've been big on self-embrace, I call it, for a long. Because when you give yourself that gift of your loving embrace, then from that place of fullness, you're going to be more beautiful in everything that you're sharing.
100%. And, you know, even as simple as putting a hand on our own heart when we feel a bit of, you know, a twinge of overwhelm, a bit of struggle, it's just like this one too is loved and gets to feel it too. And you take a big breath and you just say, I'm here, right? And then we can show up for and continue to offer the compassion out. And educators, like, this is their gift. They're brimmed with compassion for others. And I think our journey to be able to support and continue this work so they stop burning out and are so exhausted is this inner compassion these days. So
In fact, the self-reg involves breathing, perhaps. I mean, this is another self-reg action right there. Look at how simple this is.
and it's so powerful.
It does feel good.
It does feel good, doesn't it? Oh, Rafi, you are such a delight, and it's always lovely to have conversations with you and to share so many of your philosophies out in the world. One of the things that I've been doing on these chats has really been fun is always ending with talking about music and being, the Beatles for children, as we've just been told. I love it. One of my stress relieves, one of the ways I take care of myself is I have what I call kitchen dance parties. So at the end of the day, if it's been a long day, I turn up my tunes really well. I have 2 kids. They're now 11 and 12. They've been little, and we have sang lots of Raffi songs, and we have done lots of different ways, and they now continue to be part of my music and my dancing. And so it's a huge part of me shaking off days and getting on with my life. What's a song you love to dance to? What's a song you love to get your wiggles out with?
You mean like besides Banana Phone?
Besides Banana, well, maybe it's Banana Phone we can share with the world.
I listen to so much diverse music. I'm not sure I have one song I can point to. I mean, I just love so much music, whether it's on YouTube or a song that comes across the radio. I mean, I'm big on the Beatles. You mentioned the Beatles. I can rock to the Beatles. You Say You Want a Revolution, or The Long and Winding Road. I'm often playing these songs on the guitar. So my dancing happens in various ways, you might say. Yeah, sometimes I dance in my mind. Sometimes I boogie my body, but always pleasurable. Never guilty.
No, never guilty. We were joking about this because I called it your guilty pleasure song, but really music isn't guilty. It's such a healing component for all of us. And I think this is a really important part when we're talking about wellness. This is why I've been sharing that I use music to help me heal. I use it to help me move. Sometimes I put quiet and slow music on while I'm cooking dinner. And sometimes it's like, let's get our jives on. Sometimes I grab my preteens and spin them around the dance floor on the kitchen. And they need that, right? It's another way to bring in joy. And so.
And you love that as a parent.
I love that as a parent.
Experience. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say my favorite rap song, because we're just going to share it, is All I'll Ever Need is a song in my heart.
All I really need.
Food in my belly.
All I really need is a song in my heart. Food in my belly and love in my family. Yeah. All I really, really need is a song in my heart, love in my family. You could take those lines and do a lesson plan. You could say, what gives us a song in our heart? What foods are best for our belly? How might they be raised? Who gets to eat? And love in my family. What kind of love? Mm-hmm. What is our sense of family? Mm-hmm. Or several lessons in there.
Oh, there's so much beauty in that. Well, I know that has been one of those songs that grounds me wherever and whenever I need it. It's just, such a beautiful reminder of the love that we want to do in this world and offer in the world, and the respect that you offer so many other people and that you continue to grow. Thank you for your contribution and your work. It's such a pleasure always to talk with you. And I hope that we can have this again sometime.
My pleasure. Do you know that this is probably my first Instagram Live?
You've done amazing. You've done a really good job.
Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. We had fun.
I'll get my guitar next time.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to that. We're going to do it again with your guitar, because I have to say there's been a lot of comments of people just saying they needed this today. They needed to hear your voice. They needed to be reminded of all of the things that you share in the world, and your music, and your covenant to child honoring is such a gift to everything we do. I'm going to make sure when I share this video, I also include the link to your child honoring, RaffiFoundation.org. I'm also going to share it in my email list. So those of you who are following in my email list, it's going to come out as a link this week, so you can all find ways to join it. And lastly, I just want to share, I have an opportunity coming up this Saturday. We're starting, it's called Yes Vember. And it's kind of like what you were talking about, Rafi, is what do we say yes to on purpose? And how do we make sure everything else is a no? And as we sort of wrap up the end of November, I want to make it a yes Vember, and I want us to be really prioritizing the things that fill us up, the things that are important to us, so we can go into a soul-stainable December and really feeling well in our lives.
Soul-stainable.
That? Thank you.
I like it.
I like it too. So that link will be in my bio. Thanks for following along, everybody. Have a beautiful day. To my American friends, happy Thanksgiving. Happy World Cup watching to all those out there cheering, connecting our world.
Stay kind and safe this holiday. Let your love shine.